Did you order the code red?
Did you order the code red?
I did the job. Did you order the code red?
Wank, wank.
And I did!
Sorry, what I meant to say was, do you have a financial plan? My name's James Barber. I'm your Oregon Cash Flow Pro. We're going to talk financial plans today. Have you thought about how your finances are structured? Do you have a safe base? I like to call it the wealth pyramid. We think about how our finances are set up. You notice here at the bottom, base of a solid financial plan starts with savings. It could be an emergency fund, insurance, car insurance, home insurance, health insurance, life insurance, shelter. You got to have a house, somewhere to live. Doesn't have to be a house, but you got to have somewhere to live. Do you have a pension or something that guarantees you ongoing income so that you don't have to worry about the basic necessities? That's also where Social Security can come in. This makes up a solid financial base. If you don't have shelter, you find yourself on the street. It doesn't take very long for people to kind of go mad. You have this lack of security and you're constantly on guard because you don't have a safe place. Making sure that you have a safe place for shelter is huge when it comes to ultimately financial success. This is our base that we operate out of. Are you in a situation where you have your savings, emergency savings, so that if something happens, a bump in the road financially speaking, it's not going to create massive chaos? These things are so important. Only after we make sure that we have a solid financial base should we be looking at investments or growing our wealth. Now, it doesn't mean you have to have all of this secured before you start to move up the pyramid, but oftentimes people get this backwards and they start off doing extremely high-risk investments before they build their base, and that can spell disaster. And when I talk to you guys about this stuff, I spend quite a bit of time thinking about this. I also focus on these in my own personal life. Do I have an emergency fund? Yes, we have enough money on the sidelines to help get us through an emergency. We can use that emergency fund to increase the limits on some of our insurance so that we can save money if we know that we essentially don't file claims. I've never filed a homeowner's claim, and we almost never file a claim on our autos. I think the only time we've done it in the last 10 years was a glass claim, and we had a zero deductible just for glass alone. But everything else, we have really high deductibles because of that savings. Our emergency savings allows us to spend less on a lot of our insurance. Now, if tragedy were to strike, we have a house fire, and suddenly we lose our shelter, we've got the insurance to help cover it. Homeowners insurance costs like $1,000 a year, and it could potentially replace a $300,000 house. Now, this is going to be state dependent. Some homeowners insurance are a lot more than that. But if you think about the risk to the reward in this case, if I had to come up with the cash to replace my house of the deductible at $5,000 or $10,000, it's going to take me 240 years of paying that insurance for it not to have been worthwhile, or 300 years. So clearly homeowners insurance can be a really nice backstop in somebody's financial plan so that we know that we're not going to not have shelter if tragedy were to strike home. Now, that's just in case of a fire or something else like that. Anything can happen. So we have homeowners insurance. We have auto insurance. We have to have auto insurance. It's required here in the States, but that's a good thing because car accidents happen, and sometimes really bad accidents happen with it. And you could find yourself on the hook for a lot of money unexpectedly. Health insurance. Healthcare costs are outrageous. Health insurance costs themselves are outrageous. So that one, it might fudge a little bit. I know I like to fudge on that one a little bit as well, and sometimes risk going without health insurance. But it's really risky these days. If something were to happen, you could easily find yourself out hundreds of thousands of dollars. But it's not quite as obvious as homeowners insurance because health insurance is like $1,000 a month, not a year. But at the same time, everybody's at risk of some tragedy befalling that could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. You got to be careful about these things. Now, I'm a bit young, but we have started to build up a pension. Now, it's not an actual pension. We're self-employed here, but we have an annuity that will serve the same thing as a pension. It'll pay out a lifetime stream of income when we decide to turn it on. So we've got that part covered. Social Security, we qualify for Social Security. So as long as that program is still around when we retire, we also have that covered. Now, the only other one I didn't mention, life insurance on the bottom section here. Life insurance, we have tons of life insurance. In fact, that's where we store our savings. We use high cash value life insurance, whole life and index universal life, in order to help bolster the base of our financial pyramid. Whole life and IUL are like the safest places that we can store very large amounts of money. Our whole life insurance, we get guaranteed growth out of it. It's a good bond alternative. And the IUL gives us exposure to the market with much, much higher potential returns than what we have in whole life and a greater degree of flexibility. But what we also have in both of those is liquidity. And with properly designed policies, the expenses are extremely low, but we have millions of dollars of death benefit. If tragedy were to happen to me and my income is no longer here for my family, they now have a death benefit. That's important. Now, sometimes people meet that death benefit with term insurance, and that's okay. Sometimes that's where we have to start out. But ultimately, I use whole life and IUL because it can help me meet multiple needs. It gives me the insurance, and it gives me a place to store my savings, and it gives me exposure to the market that utilizes, or I should say it complements, a lot of my efforts as I move up this pyramid. And with it being liquid, I can collateralize the cash value in there at a very low cost to go do other investments. Now, what else do we have? We have a solo 401k. Don't have access to a 403b. Those are certain particular jobs. We do have an IRA. In fact, our annuity that's waiting in the wings for when we retire is in an IRA. We have Roth accounts. I use those to do some trading in, and we're working on growing these, but we max these out every single year. We try to max 401ks out every single year for the tax savings. The Roth is after tax dollars, but will never be taxed again. So eventually we're going to move everything here into the Roth, but we also own real estate as well. Now, this is the second step in the wealth pyramid. We call this the conservative step. The reason that I call this one conservative is because real estate is a tangible, mostly liquid asset. Now, it takes a little while to dispose of it, but it doesn't generally lose value, hardly at all, and not very quickly. It's a great place to store wealth as well, but it's not going to suddenly go to zero, so we don't consider it risky. It can have particular risks, depending on what you end up getting. But for the most part, real estate is a fairly conservative investment. We get tax advantages if we're putting money into these. And most of the time, you're going to have index funds or mutual funds, ETFs, things that you can invest in that are also conservative investments inside of these. You can certainly be risky these days as well, as I've shown on this channel. I like to trade options. I do trade options inside our Roth. We're trying to do it in a safe way to grow our wealth. So this is step 2 in our wealth pyramid. We're working our way up. We're trying to take the steps necessary. Once we have a nice, safe financial base to operate from, we work our way up the pyramid. We can take advantage of what's available in these riskier levels. Now, when we go from conservative to moderate aggressive, I've got stocks up here. These would be like individual stocks. This would be stocks on a particular company because any individual company has the possibility it can go bankrupt. The value could go to zero. So that's why I don't consider that conservative. We would put things like the S&P 500 or Triple Q, the NASDAQ down here, indexes that are a basket of stocks or investments. Those are more conservative. But if we're doing individual ones, or if we're buying royalties or life settlements, or really anything else that's also a tangible investment, something that's not just going to disappear, that's what we call moderate to aggressive. Now, if you're successful in all of these, you don't really even need to look at the extremely high risk stuff. But sometimes it can be fun. High risk, high reward, right? And not all the time. A lot of times it just means high potential losses. And for the most part, this is just if you want to have fun, right? You're going to get into, I don't know, playing the lottery, go bet on football games, whatever the case may be. Not sound investments, although some people can have a talent for that. Back to the conservative one. with real estate. I also have some real estate. So we have some commercial buildings up in Washington that we rent out. We have a restaurant in one of them. We have apartments up above, and we do a short-term rental. And then we also rent out of the other commercial buildings. So we have a good exposure to a number of different things out there. But at the base of it, we've got everything covered. If you'd like to talk to me about making sure that your financial base is covered, we can have that conversation. I do help people with financial planning. You can schedule a meeting with me with that link right over there. I offer free consultations to everybody. Ultimately, my goal and the goal of this channel is to help you guys optimize your cash flow, make the best use of it, and be wise with our money and grow our wealth. So if you haven't created a financial plan yet, I think it's time to get started. If you do have one or you disagree with what I've laid out here, let me know in the comment section below. Always open to learning from other people. We can all continue to get better together. I hope you find this helpful. Take care, and we'll see you next time. The next 20 seconds determine your future. Subscribe, meet with me, or continue educating yourself with these videos right over here. I appreciate you. Now go maximize your cash flow.